Our story starts in 1925. Rollin Charles Dart and his son, Doc Campbell Dart, along with several local farmers and businessmen, received a charter to open a commercial bank, the Dart National Bank of Mason. This was an exciting time for Doc, as he also learned he was going to be a father to a baby boy, Rollin Bashford Dart.
The bank received its charter as a national bank in 1925, and my dad flew to Washington to get it. So proud.
The early 1930s were a trying time for this nation, especially within the banking industry. We were the youngest of the three Mason banks, thus the Great Depression impacted us immensely. Lack of money and resources brought the American economy to a grinding halt. This depleted and chaotic environment did not deter R.C. and Doc Dart. They were dead set on offering consumers installment-type loans for automobiles and trailer homes. So, back and forth, from Mason to D.C., R.C. traveled until the bank was allowed by the federal comptroller to offer the community another way to finance their dreams.
My dad, early in his career, felt that the bank needed to get substantially into consumer lending to fulfill the needs of the community, and particularly, he felt strongly about our beginning to lend to enable purchases of automobiles, and then later on, house trailers or mobile homes.
The onset of war in the early 40s saw more trying times for Dart Bank and the banking industry as a whole. All dollars and production capacities were retooled to focus on war efforts, all but eliminating the consumer spending increases seen following the Depression. Through the efforts of our team and our wonderful community, we once again were able to come out of the decade for the better. In 1948, Rollin moved back to Mason with his wife Mary Vay to begin his career with Dart Insurance.
You know, as much as we hate to think of it in this way, really it was World War II that brought our country out of the so-called Great Depression.
The 1950s brought with them continued optimism within the local and national communities. We continued to grow, as did Lansing and the surrounding municipalities.
People were not able to buy cars, washers, dryers, anything to fulfill the needs of the home because of the wartime conditions, so that all of these consumer needs had to be put off till after the war.
Following bank examination in the summer of 1961, a year after the passing of Doc Campbell Dart, the regulators advised the board of our need for stronger leadership. Regulators further stated they would accept Rollin Dart as chief executive if he wished to leave the insurance business and head the bank full-time. On January 15, 1962, Rollin assumed his role as chairman and chief executive officer.
I made the arrangements I needed to make in order to leave the insurance agency and assume an active leadership in the bank.
That same year, Rollin and the other board members felt that the up-and-coming area of Delhi needed a community-focused bank, and that Dart Bank was the answer. After opening the doors to our temporary trailer in Delhi Township in 1965, American Bank and Trust took the bank to court for what they thought was a violation of the Village section in the Michigan Financial Institutions Act, stating the bank was occupying residents in the same village. As a result, Dart Bank's entry into Delhi would be put on hold. In 1974, we attempted our return to Delhi, and after a long and arduous battle with both the American Bank and Trust Company and the Comptroller of Currency, we were able to open our Holt location.
We studied the Delhi Charter Township area very carefully and decided on a property north of the Holt Village sign on Cedar Street, because we knew that the other bank then could not possibly say we were in their so-called village.
During the 80s and 90s, we were extremely healthy, as was most of America. Throughout these decades, we saw continuous growth and remained focused on listening to the needs and wants of our communities. 1999 was a significant year for us. Rollin Dart, after serving as CEO for 37 years, passed the title on to Ronald Rhodes. During Rollins' tenure, the bank increased in size from $8 million to $180 million.
You know, most chief executive officers of companies, when they reach their retirement age, they do retire and they leave their companies. And that hasn't been true with our bank and with me for a number of reasons. Having to do with the family name, I'm sure. Having to do with all that I have felt my grandfather and my father, the importance of their getting the bank established, etc. And I just simply feel the personal responsibility for the bank, and I'll be here as long as I'm physically able to be.
With a major blow to America in September of 2001, markets reacted accordingly, and the entire country suffered a great emotional and financial loss. However, we, like our resilient nation, continued to forge forward, striving to meet the needs of our communities and our patrons. In April of 2005, we expanded into Grand Ledge, bringing our community-centered banking to its third location in Greater Lansing. In the summer of 2006, Ronald Rhodes declared his wish to retire. Ronald worked with us for over 33 years, serving as president and CEO for the last 8. After considering several candidates, the board selected Peter Kubacki to become the bank's 5th president and CEO, effective March 1, 2007. This also marked the end of Roland Dart's position on the board. However, his time with Dart was not over, as he continued on as Chairman Emeritus and Community Relations Officer. Soon after our change in leadership, the nation experienced the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. Michigan was hit particularly hard, as were many of our clients. We were fortunate enough to remain in the black throughout these difficult years. In 2013, we recovered to our traditional profitability, having the 2nd highest net profit prior to this point in our history. A strategic opportunity to greatly expand our residential lending business presented itself in early 2014, resulting in the addition of 40 mortgage bankers to our staff. That same year, we added a residential lending office in Chelsea, Michigan. By the end of 2014, Dart Bank ranked number 1 in Ingham County's home mortgage market share. Since our inception, we have been focused on the prosperity of our communities. Through trials and tribulations, we have been steadfast and unwavering in providing innovative practices and progressive thinking. From the beginning, the most important people in the world have passed through our portals, our customers.
We so appreciate all that all of you out there have done for us and continue to do for us, and all that those who are no longer with us have done for us through thick and thin. We're so grateful to each and every one of you. Thank you so much.